The question is, in the book, Let's Play Doctor, you can make your own determination whether or not you have a fracture or somebody you love has a fracture by putting a tuning fork on there. You can go into any drugstore and get, or a bookstore at the medical school or the biology school at the university, get a little C tuning fork, tap it, and while it's still vibrating, touch it to a fracture you think is a fracture. And if it is real painful, you know it's a fracture. You can also do the same thing with a tooth. If the fracture of the tooth is down into the root, you will jump out of your seat. Okay, this gentleman's got a low platelet count because the doctors say his antibodies are attacking his own platelets. Do you take vitamins and minerals?
Yeah.
What do you take? He just started. Okay, she's honest. He just started.
They're saying take other stuff.
Okay, this guy just started taking vitamins and minerals. So what I want you to do is take Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula for 2 months and then go back and have another platelet count. The reason why I say that is your bone marrow that produces platelets, that produces white blood cells and red blood cells, requires 90 nutrients to do that. And the first thing they're going to want to do is give you some chemotherapy. They're going to want to give you chemotherapy or prednisone or something to calm that down. Try Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula for 2 months first and go back in and get that checked. Anybody else? Yes, in the blue. The Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula is written in the book Let's Play Doctor, but it's under arthritis and osteoporosis, but instead of saying gelatin, it says chondroitin sulfate, because you can't use brand names in a book. Fibromyalgia. Yes, this is actually a disease that we eliminated in sheep in 1957. It's called stiff lamb disease in sheep. Anybody here raise sheep? Anybody raise sheep? Do you ever hear of stiff lamb disease? Yep. Do you know how to prevent it and cure it? Okay, with a trace mineral called selenium. Selenium. It's a kind of an adult onset muscular dystrophy. It's a disease that was not around 10, 15 years ago. If it was, nobody knew how to diagnose it. And the reason why we have so much of it today suddenly is because we have a large intake as a people of vegetable oils, things like margarine and cooking oils and salad dressings. And when you have a deficiency of selenium, if you take in a large dose of vegetable oils, it aggravates that deficiency and you get what's called fibromyalgia. So if you take Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula, it has lots of colloidal selenium in it, and give up all fried foods and all vegetable oils, salad dressings, cooking oils, and margarine. See what happens in 90 days. You'll be a happy camper. Yes, sir? Hemachromatosis, iron storage disease, all kinds of stuff like that. This is the big rage now. Don't supplement with iron, they tell you. But I hope you don't listen to them, because most people who have hemachromatosis or iron storage disease have never ever supplemented with iron, right? Okay. Now, the reason why people get hemachromatosis and iron storage disease is not because you take in too much iron, you eat too much red meat or supplement with iron. It's because you have a copper deficiency. You have a copper deficiency. You take all 90 nutrients, including colloidal copper, the hemachromatosis and iron storage disease will go away because you're giving that missing piece to that chemical reactions. Back here. Migraines are always food allergies. What you want to do for 1 month, keep a little book, a little spiral notebook in your pocket or purse, and every time you put food in your mouth, put great detail of the time of which you ate it and what you ate. If you ate pizza, don't just say pizza. You got to say everything that's on the pizza. And then write down the times at which migraine headaches appear. Don't look at the results. Don't try to interpret it until the end of a full month that goes by. Then go back with a yellow highlighter, highlight all the places where you had a migraine headache, and then go to the snack or the meal just before that. And you'll find a common thread. You eliminate that food out of your diet, you won't have migraines anymore. Yes, sir? Asthma is a deficiency of 2 minerals and essential fatty acid. The 2 minerals are magnesium and manganese, and essential fatty acids, which you can get from either flaxseed oil capsules, that's what I personally take, or fish oil. Yes?
What about estrogen replacement after hysterectomy?
Okay, after a complete hysterectomy, no ovaries use, you do not need estrogen replacement. You give your adrenal glands and your liver all the raw materials they need, okay, which is the 90 nutrients plus cholesterol. You'll produce enough estrogen so you won't get any of the side effects, or if you do, there'll be minimal side effects of this instant menopause you get from hysterectomy.
Okay, very dry mouth, maybe, what is it,
Shogun's disease, okay, dry mouth, no tears or little tears. Always this is due to a vitamin A deficiency. Always is due to a vitamin A deficiency. And if you're not supplementing with vitamin A, do you take multivitamin minerals? No. Okay, it's a vitamin A deficiency. I don't have to say any more. Okay, do you have an adrenal problem? Oh, a friend, okay. Yeah, they have an adrenal gland problem. They can have a tumor there. They might have a long-term series of prednisone or cortisone treatments, okay?
No, they haven't had the prednisone yet.
Okay. Okay. Oh, they had a bad reaction to it. Might have been Cushing's disease, okay? And of course, so what you want to do is give them all 90 nutrients. Give them Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula, whether it's the adrenal glands or the testicles, the ovaries, the pituitary, the thyroid. Something's missing there when those things happen. Dry skin, looks like he's been rolled in Rice Krispies. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is called dry eczema. Sometimes it'll crack and bleed or ooze. Yeah, ugly. Okay, now this is due to an essential fatty acid deficiency. He needs to eat chicken skin, not fried, but roasted, baked, or broiled chicken skin. He also needs to eat fish 3 or 4 times a week, not fried, but roasted, baked, steamed, to get the essential fatty acids. He can also take the flaxseed oil capsules with breakfast, lunch, and supper. How old is the kid? 11. Okay, he's almost an adult. And then he could take Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula, but also you want to get him off of all wheat because he probably has what's called celiac disease. The wheat gluten prevents the absorption of essential fatty acids, and then you start seeing this eczema all over the body. Yes?
Numbness in the feet.
Numbness in the feet could be due to dozens of things. It could be, for instance, due to B12 deficiency. It could be due to neuropathy from uncontrolled diabetes. It could be due to spinal stenosis, which is caused by, excuse me, a osteoporosis where the vertebrae try to get stronger by growing big with connective tissue because they don't have enough minerals, and it begins to squish on the spinal nerves and the spinal cord. So it could be many things. You have to find out first what it is, and the book Let's Play Doctor will tell you how to do that.
I've got 2. One is vitiligo.
Okay, vitiligo is a loss of skin color, and it's due to a deficiency of folic acid and PABA, P-A-B-A, and you can actually take mega doses of those things and take all 90 essential nutrients and your skin color will come back. Next. I'm sorry? Oh, macular degeneration. Okay. This is where you get a degeneration of the retina of the eye. Okay. And this is due to a deficiency of 3 nutrients. Number 1, it's a deficiency of a special amino acid, which you have to go to a health food store and get this amino acid in 500 milligram capsules. It's called taurine, T-A-U-R-I-N-E. Then selenium and vitamin E. You also have to give up vegetable oils and salad dressing and all fried foods. Hay fever. Okay, miserable hay fever. You may not be able to totally get rid of it, but if you want to reduce it significantly, what you have to do is go on a rotation diet. In other words, don't eat the same food every day. Don't eat bread every day. Don't eat hamburgers every day. Don't eat eggs every day. You have to eat foods once every 3rd day or once every 5th day. It's called a rotation diet. Now, you want to take some digestive aids to kind of reduce all the possibility of undigested proteins and things like that causing stress on your immune system. Then you want to make sure the individual takes all 90 nutrients so their immune system is up to where they can defend themselves. It's a big process, and but is it worth it? Yes. Parasites. You're talking about worms or little one-celled things? All parasites. Okay, well, it's a big field. The one-celled things, of course, if you take all 90 nutrients and you take some oxygen, the food-grade hydrogen peroxide in drops in distilled water, very frequently just oxygenating the bowels is enough to kill out the one-cell parasites. The worms, what I like to do, if you want to use herbs, there's things like wormwood and black walnut hulls. You can ground up, you can get it in capsules in health food stores. That works pretty good. What I used to do with my kids is I'd give them a sheep wormer.
Husband has Parkinson's.
Okay, Parkinson's disease. I'll cover 3 diseases at one time here. MS, multiple sclerosis, ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and Parkinson's disease. They all seem to have the same cause, a mercury poisoning, causing damage to the brain, causing damage to the cholesterol part of the brain, the myelin coating of the nerve trunks. There's 2 ways that you can get mercury. Number 1, you get it from your mercury amalgam fillings, and so you want to get all the mercury fillings out. The other way is the most common trade that gets Parkinson's disease is farmers, because they deal with mercury-coated seed grains to prevent the molding of the seeds in the soil. Farmers, yeah. And so what you want to do is get all the mercury out of your life, and then you want to take Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula because it has colloidal selenium in it, which is a specific antidote to dump stored mercury in your brain, liver, and other tissues. And lastly, get a hold of a book called Dr. Swank's Diet for MS, and it's good for Parkinson's disease, ALS, and MS. Yes? Okay, pernicious anemia is a B12 deficiency. Is this in a young person or a senior? Okay, Do you have belching, burping, and bloating? Yes, okay, good, very honest lady. And now, the reason why you have pernicious anemia or B12 deficiency anemia and you have belching, burping, and bloating, they always go together, is because you don't have enough stomach acid in your stomach, and you cannot absorb B12 without a very acid stomach. Diabetes. Okay, diabetes, adult onset diabetes is a chromium and vanadium deficiency. Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula and another product we have has the chelated form of chromium and vanadium. I've literally seen thousands of people who had adult onset diabetes, including my own 82-year-old father-in-law who'd been on insulin for 20 years, over a period of 3.5 months, actually been able to wean off of his insulin, just simply by taking in the colloidal form of chromium and vanadium. It's just very simple. And of course, diabetics are trained to monitor their blood sugar. They're trained to monitor and take care of their insulin requirements on a day-to-day basis. So you're in a very good position. If, for instance, you wake up in the morning and your blood sugar is 50, would you take insulin that morning? No, obviously not. And so as your blood sugar comes down, you can begin to slowly wean off of your insulin or reduce your insulin, and you're trained how to do that. Manic depression, okay. Manic depression, depression, bipolar disease, hyperactivity, ADD, ADHD, all of these kind of emotional things have the same approach nutritionally. Number one, you want to give up all sugar, natural and processed. No apple juice, no grape juice, no honey, no molasses, no processed sugar, no donuts, no candy, no sugar frosted flakes, nothing like that. Even hot dogs have corn syrup in them. You got to read labels and exclude all that. Then you want to take Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula because it has lithium, chromium, and vanadium in it. Oh, okay. Childhood diabetes, okay. Childhood or juvenile onset diabetes, all the research shows that these individuals are allergic to dairy. And the beta cells in the islet of Langerhans that produce the insulin, the cell membrane is in fact, has a similar amino acid sequence as does milk protein. And so almost always these people are allergic to milk. And so you got to get them off of dairy, get this antibody thing that's going crazy against milk to disappear so it won't attack their own beta cells. And then, of course, they need to take chromium and vanadium. And there's no reason why these kids can't live to be 100 if they take chromium and vanadium. Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula is a good source, and get off of dairy. They have to be good. They have to have a sugar-free diet and do the diabetic thing. And if they're good, there's no reason why they can't live to be 100. Yes, in purple. Pulmonary hypertension. Okay. Usually these are people with some kind of obstructive disease. Okay. You have chronic pulmonary obstructive disease of one kind, or asthma, emphysema, and of course, as a result, the pressure, blood pressure goes up as a result of the chronic lung disease, correct? Okay. I'm sorry? Yeah, heart and lung disease. Do you have cystic fibrosis? No? Okay, well, again, I would treat yourself like asthma nutritionally. What I would do is take Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula for the manganese and magnesium. I would take essential fatty acids. I would take 3 of those 1,000 milligram capsules for breakfast, lunch, and supper for a total of 9 a day. Give up all sugar, give up all caffeine, absolutely no fats or vegetable oils in your diet except for the essential fatty acids, which you're going to supplement with. No salad dressing, no deep fried foods, absolutely none. Yes, ma'am. Neurofibromatosis, elephant man disease. I don't know enough about that when it comes to nutrition, but if I had the disease or had a patient with it, when I've never had a patient with it, and I've always wanted to try this, was use Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula with it, because really what it looks like to me is a form of Paget's disease, especially with all the bone deformities in the skull and the large bones of the arms and so forth. It looks like Paget's disease, a form of Paget's disease, which occurs mostly in males. And I would like to try Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula for 3 months. You have everything to gain, nothing to lose by trying it. A low temperature? Is that Wilson syndrome? Okay. Is there nothing else, just low temperature? Okay, that's usually thyroid gland stuff. If you want to get your temperature up, take some cayenne pepper. It'll rise her right up quickly. But also take the 90 nutrients, which will stimulate the thyroid gland and get yourself going. But do the half a teaspoon of cayenne and then work up to a teaspoon a day in hot water. Yes, in the red.
What's the relationship between minerals and medicinal herbs?
Okay, what's the difference between minerals and medicinal herbs? This is a very good question. Medicinal herbs are plant medicines. They drive your body to do things. If you're constipated, it'll loosen you up. If you're diarrhea, it'll tighten you up. If you have high blood pressure, it can bring it down. But you get off the herbs, the blood pressure goes back up. It doesn't cure anything. They're medicines that make your body do things. Minerals actually fit into the biochemistry of each cell in your body and are required to prevent diseases. Herbs are not required to prevent diseases. Herbs will work better if you take minerals because your body can more uniformly respond to these herbs or acupuncture or chiropractic or whatever it might be. Okay, psoriasis up until a year ago, I didn't have a good answer for that, but here's what I've learned. Number one, they need to take Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula twice a day, add in the flaxseed oil capsules to make sure they get all 90 nutrients, and that'll improve psoriasis about 40%. The scales will drop off, the skin will get nice and pink underneath instead of fiery red and all cracked and bleeding and everything. And then, what you want to do is puree a big Bermuda onion, skin it and puree it, put it in a bowl, then puree a big cucumber, skin it and puree it. Take the Bermuda onion puree, smear it on the psoriasis lesions and sores, and it'll sting like you put alcohol on a cut. In about 5 minutes, it'll stop stinging. You wipe it off, don't wash it off, wipe it off, put on the pureed cucumber, that will sting, and when that stops stinging, wipe that off. Put on a good collagen cream, leave it on there all day, and then 2 hours before you go to bed, go through the onion and the cucumber thing again and sleep all night with the collagen cream on, and in about a month or two, the psoriasis will go away. You have to keep repeating that treatment about every couple of months, but it'll keep it away. Every time you see a little dime-sized spot show up, you hit it again with that treatment. Chronic cold sores, herpes simplex virus. Again, if you have things like jock itch and vaginal yeast infections, you have fungus in your toenails, athlete's foot, herpes, those kinds of things, it means your own immune system doesn't have enough strength to keep all these little things away from you, which most people are able to do. And so you want to take Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula twice a day. Give your immune system all the nutrients it needs. Okay, prostate. Okay, well, let's start out first with prostate. 80% of all men over the age of 50 in America have an enlarged prostate. Whenever you get a statistic like that, it tells you it's a nutritional problem. They're missing minerals, okay? You get them on Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula, and we have another one which has a herb in it called saw palmetto, which will actually shrink the prostate gland. And then prostate cancer, in addition to taking all 90 nutrients, get your immune system up, you also want to take some shark cartilage, okay, which prevents the spread of the prostate cancer into the bone. One of the interesting things, if the person's over 60 years of age, all of these statistics show that they should not get chemotherapy or radiation because they will live 12 to 15 years if they're over 60 with the prostate cancer. And of course, if you get chemotherapy or radiation, the average lifespan is 5 years. And so you're very sane not to take it. Oh, you're still coughing?
Yes.
Okay, 2 years ago, you had walking pneumonia and you're still coughing. Okay, well, you might have some scar tissue or damage, or you might have chronic bronchitis, okay, all kinds of possibilities in there. And did you plow fields and work in dust and chemicals and things like that? What did you do for a living?
I'm retired.
No, what did you do for a living?
I work for the government.
There's no hope. Okay, basically what you want to do is take Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula and be sure to take the essential fatty acids in the form of flaxseed oil. You also want to look at taking the oxygen supplement. Okay, post-polio syndrome kind of thing? Yeah, okay. Huh? Yeah, but did he get polio vaccine? Yeah, he's shaking his head yes. Okay, so it could have been from that. Now, the thing to do, the best thing he can do for himself is take Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula twice a day. And the reason why I say that so much, they're saying, this Wallach is selling snake oil. You know, every time if somebody asks for a different disease, tell them to take Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula. It contains 87 nutrients. Remember, there's 10 diseases for each nutrient. 10 times 87 is 870 different diseases are going to be covered by that formula. Endometriosis, you're not going to fix that with nutrition, but there is a posterior pituitary hormone, which you can get from the OB. It's a prescription. It's called Luperon. Endometriosis and also the fibroids in the uterus, you can shrink those things with the Luperon, and you can get them down from big, you know, the size of a grapefruit, down to the size of your little fingernail, and you can go in through your belly button with endoscopic tools and snip that thing off of there without having to get a hysterectomy. Neurological problems? Sure, B1 deficiency, B12 deficiency, calcium deficiency, copper deficiency, there's all kinds of them. So the best thing to do, don't try and pick one out, take them all. Get off of all sugar. Gout. Okay, gout, you want to stay on the diet. No beans, no seafood, no lentils, that kind of stuff. No wine, no beer, no yeast. And if you do that faithfully, you won't get very many flare-ups during the year, maybe none. But if you do get a flare-up, there's two things you can do. Number one, there's an herb called meadow saffron. It is the source, a natural source of colchicine, which is the drug of choice by medical doctors for gout. You can also, of course, take a vitamin called folic acid. You want to take large amounts of this, 20 milligrams a day during a flare-up, and it drives your liver to gobble up all that uric acid. Okay, repeated miscarriages almost always is due to a deficiency disease of something. It could be selenium, could be zinc, could be copper, could be vitamin A, could be vitamin E. And of course, I always say that I've gotten more women pregnant than any other man on earth, because I've literally had thousands and thousands of cases like this where women are infertile, they get going, they get a miscarriage somewhere along the line. And what they do is take Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula faithfully. My own daughter is a great story. She's 34 years old, been married 12 years, and they tried and tried and tried and couldn't get a pregnancy. And against my best advice to her, she and her husband went around the world to all the experts of Europe and France and England, and went to the Mayo Clinic. They said, hold the Mayo, don't even go there. You know, and after 12 years of searching and trying, they were told that she was hopelessly sterile, couldn't have any children. And she came to me in tears, said, it looks like we're going to have to adopt a baby. And I said, well, look, why don't you try Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula for 6 months before you make that decision. 3 months later, she calls me, she says, Dad, I'm pregnant. I said, well, why didn't you do that before you spent $150,000? She says, well, they were experts. Yes, ma'am. Hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, is the first symptom of diabetes. It's on the same curve. It's the earliest symptoms of diabetes. And if you don't deal with low blood sugar, if you just try to deal with it by regulating your diet and avoiding sugar, you're going to get diabetes, as sure as God made little green apples. And so what you want to do, in addition to not taking in any sugar, doctors say, oh, you get low blood sugar, eat a candy bar. That's the wrong thing to do. What you want to do is eat about 5 or 6 small meals a day. I've had people with such bad low blood sugar or hypoglycemia, I had them just go to McDonald's and get nothing but the hamburger patty. They'd get a dozen of them at a time. And they would eat 2 hamburger patties, and then an hour later they'd eat another 2 hamburger patties. 2 hours later they'd eat another 2 hamburger patties. But you also want to take Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula because it's got the chromium and vanadium in it that'll take care of this body's inability to deal with blood sugar, regulate things, and get you out of trouble. Yes, ma'am?
I've got 2. My husband has just been in an accident. He's having a lot of muscle spasms in his back.
Okay, muscle spasms in the back after an accident. Doesn't matter if a horse has jumped on you, a car accident, plane accident, or you just whacked him around a little bit. You want to get him on Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula. Get him on all those minerals. Okay, that's what's missing. Okay, another one real quick. Graves' disease, thyroid problem, hyperactive thyroid, right? Again, what happens to your thyroid when you have an iodine deficiency? It gets big, gets overactive trying to compensate for this lack of iodine. There's 2 things that can happen. Number one, you can be deficient in 90 nutrients, any one of which can cause Graves' disease. Your thyroid gets big trying to compensate for something missing. Number 2, people who eat too many what's called goitrogens, nitrates, for instance, which are in bacon, ham, lunch meats. It's in certain foods such as broccoli and Brussels sprouts and cabbage. Those are goitrogens, and they will actually cause a hyperactivity of the thyroid gland. So you have to get off of all those goitrogens, many of them which are listed in the book, Let's Play Doctor, and take all 90 nutrients. Basically, for circulation, you can do the cayenne pepper thing. If it's just cold hands at night, it may be just a thyroid thing, and something's missing, okay? Whether it's tyrosine, the amino acid, or if it's zinc, or if it's copper, or if it's iodine, you don't know without thousands of dollars worth of tests. And I always get people ask me this, well, Doc, how do I know which one it is? I said, well, you give me $2,000, I'll run all the tests, and I'll tell you which one it is. But why don't you try Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula for, $50 a month for 2 months before you make that decision? And usually 97% of these things go away if you just take in all 90 nutrients. Okay. Mononucleosis, or Epstein-Barr virus, of course, one of the reasons why people get that is they don't have enough of the nutrients to keep their immune system tough enough to keep those viruses away. And normally when people get Epstein-Barr virus, you should be sick 2 weeks. But when you have this year-long infectious mononucleus thing, it's because your immune system isn't strong enough to throw it out. Did you get infectious mononucleosis after chemotherapy?
I have had one other time, and that was right before I was diagnosed.
With the leukemia, yeah. Okay, so it's all kind of twisted in together. Leukemia is caused by a chemical carcinogen, whether it's in the drinking water from a deep well or something chemical in the air or the food, who knows? It's a carcinogen, some chemical you got sometime 5 or 10 years before you were diagnosed, which causes the leukemia. And so what you got to do is clean up your life. You have to drink filtered or distilled water to get all the chemicals out of your drinking water. You should eat organically grown food as much as possible to get the chemicals out of your food. You should filter the air in your house, in your workplace, in your car, get all the chemicals out of the air. And you need to take all 90 nutrients and watch what happens. Yes, sir. Okay. Okay, if you have a blockage, whether it's in the coronary artery or a carotid artery blockage of it, when it gets so bad, a lot of times they won't do surgery on it because they're afraid to tamper with it because it's going to break a clot loose or something. And they'll say, well, just, you know, you're going to do what you're going to do because we're not going to do surgery on it. Or maybe you're like me and you don't like surgery. What I would do is the intravenous chelation therapy, get some of the EDTA and rotor-root out those arteries with the intravenous chelation. And I would do that first. It's a non-invasive thing, and nobody's ever been killed with it, and it works like a charm. Well, that's sugar. It's just chocolate-covered sugar, okay. Yeah. Okay, well, you want to get rid of your problem. What you want to do, see, now Amy Vanderbilt said that women are not supposed to sweat. You know, it's only horses sweat, men perspire, and women glow, right? Unless you're a teacher or a coach. And so what you want to do is take in all 90 essential nutrients, take in the pig arthritis formula twice a day, including the gelatin, especially since you're doing impact stuff with aerobics or gym or whatever it might be. And every time you crave chocolate, take in an extra ounce of those minerals, maybe 10 times a day for the first month. And then when you supersaturate your body with minerals, the craving for chocolate will go away. You want to take those minerals with an extra ounce of the calcium-enriched orange juice, because if you try and take them straight, they'll shrink wrap your lips over your mouth. They're very astringent. Yeah. Okay, the normal cholesterol should be between 220 and 270. You want to be between 220 and 270. Let me give you a couple of examples real quick here. Think about Eskimos above the Arctic Circle. 95% of their diet, or more, sometimes 97% of their diet during the wintertime, is nothing more than red meat and blubber. Whale meat and whale blubber, walrus meat, walrus blubber, seal meat, seal blubber, bear meat and bear fat. They don't eat organically grown broccoli, and they don't juice or anything like that. And they're legendary for not getting cardiovascular disease. And the reason is they eat salmon every day, either fresh during the salmon season or maybe salted, smoked, or dried the rest of the year. And when they eat the salmon, they get what's called omega-3 oils, the essential fatty acids, which keep their cardiovascular system healthy. So you can eat all the meat you want if you take in all 90 essential nutrients, and you won't get cardiovascular disease. Remember those 400 people over age 100 in Colorado just 2 weeks ago when they did the survey on them, the only common denominator was they were heavy meat eaters. Eating meat and cholesterol will not cause cardiovascular disease. That's caca. There's other problems. Yes, sir. Colitis. There's all kinds of colitis. Things like, irritable bowel syndrome, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease. Almost always, these are due to a sensitivity to wheat gluten. And these are various forms of celiac disease in the colon. Of course, medical doctors want to do the cortisone and then surgery and that sort of thing. And so you're better off trying to give up wheat and take all 90 essential nutrients. The reason why you want to give up wheat is because when people have celiac disease, they're always sensitive to wheat gluten. And one of the manifestations or one of the symptoms of celiac disease is colitis of various types. Yes, ma'am.
I understand medicine is good for preventing kidney stones, but will it resolve stones you already have?
Okay, the colloidal minerals, the pig arthritis formula, can certainly prevent kidney stones because it prevents this loss of calcium from your bones. Now, the kidney stones you already have, what you want to do is acidify your urine. If they're not causing excruciating pain, if you acidify your urine, it'll slowly etch those stones away. It may take a year or 2 or 3 years. Yeah, but they can go away. You have to acidify your urine. Drink 8 ounces of unsweetened cranberry juice twice a day.
How about asthma or emphysema?
Asthma? Well, asthma and emphysema are two different things. Asthma is due to a deficiency of 3 nutrients: magnesium, manganese, and the essential fatty acids. So you want to try Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula and evening primrose oil or flaxseed oil, salmon oil. Emphysema, you got to give up smoking or wear a mask when you're around dust. Take all 90 essential nutrients, give up fried foods, and you might get 5% better, which is better than nothing. It's not going to progress. The emphysema. Asthma, you can get possibly 100% better.
I've been, my father's a kidney transplant patient with cirrhosis of the liver. Will this do anything to him?
Okay, his father is a kidney transplant patient with cirrhosis of the liver. Well, there's lots of, 85% of the people with liver cirrhosis have nothing to do with drinking. It's almost always a deficiency of selenium, copper, things like this. And doctors say it may have been a virus, but the odds are it really isn't. It's probably a mineral deficiency. You're going to see these little kids who are born with cirrhosis of the liver, and they need a liver transplant when they're newborn kids or a couple of years old. That's not because they're drinking. It's because they have a deficiency of selenium and copper. So what do you do about it? Well, you want to take in all 90 essential nutrients. His new kidney and his liver needs nutrition. And it's not going to cause problem with the medication. We have every person with every kind of medication you can think of, and has been using this since 1926. There's not been any problems, yes. Dialysis, well again, dialysis is not selective. It doesn't just take out the bad stuff, it takes out the good stuff too. And usually when you're on dialysis for a couple of years, you get osteoporosis and arthritis, high blood pressure and diabetes and all kinds of stuff if you don't already have diabetes. And so people who get on the pig arthritis formula, very quickly, within 72 hours, they feel this energy and their bones start getting stronger and rebuilding. And the only thing that might be a concern is the gelatin, which is a high nitrogen source. And so you want to ask the urologist about that. Tinnitus, ringing in the ears. Tinnitus, ringing in the ears, is there any vertigo with it or imbalance problems? Okay, the reason why I asked that, Meniere's disease or ringing in the ears can be due to several problems. High blood pressure, certain medications can cause it. If you eliminate those possibilities, 95% of all ringing in the ears is caused by what I call Wallach's vertigo. And I call it Wallach's vertigo because I figured out what causes it. Nobody else, they describe it, nobody knows how to help it. And basically, again, it's caused by osteoporosis. As your bones try to get stronger, when they don't have enough minerals in them, they enlarge by generating connective tissue. And when the 8th cranial nerve comes from the brain through a little quarter-inch canal in the skull into the inner ear, it has 2 branches. One is the auditory branch, which controls hearing and noise. The vestibular branch controls balance. If this connective tissue crushes the auditory branch, you get ringing in the ears. If it crushes the vestibular branch, you get balance problems, vertigo. And you can crush them both or one or the other. So what you want to do is get on the pig arthritis formula, reverse that connective tissue growth, and release that pressure on the nerve and see what happens. I've had literally hundreds of people who have gotten over this problem. Tic Delarue, yeah, that's a trigeminal nerve neuralgia. And Bell's palsy, which is the 7th cranial nerve, trigeminal nerve is the 5th cranial nerve. Vertigo and Meniere's disease, which is ringing in the ears, is the 8th cranial nerve, and spinal stenosis. Those 4 diseases are related. They're all due to fibro-osteodystrophy, which is a form of osteoporosis, with lots of fibrous connective scar tissue, and it squeezes down on those nerves and causes the symptom based on which nerve it is. The 5th cranial nerve, you get a lot of pain on the side of the head and neck and shoulder, and you kind of touch them and they just go bonkers because it's very painful. You get on the pig arthritis formula and rebuild that bone, shrink that scar tissue, and relieve that nerve of the pressure. They get better. Yes, sir?
Do you recommend vitamin E?
I recommend all 90 essential nutrients, including vitamin E.
But when you go
Tubular aggregate myopathy. Okay, you're talking about a muscle disease, okay? Again, they can give it all the fancy names they want. Is this an adult or a child? Adult? And this just came on them as an adult? Yeah, okay. Okay, so what you do is you give up all fried foods and all vegetable oils, take in all 90 essential nutrients, do the pig arthritis formula with the calcium-enriched orange juice, the Willamette Valley gelatin, the colloidal minerals, and the colloidal multiple, and do it for 60 to 90 days twice a day and see what happens. You'll be a happy camper. Can too many vitamins and minerals be bad for you? Well, let me answer you in two ways. I'll answer you specifically, but first I'll answer you in general. 300,000 Americans are killed each year in hospitals alone as a result of medical negligence. If you look at all the people who are injured and infected and killed outside and inside the hospitals, there's a total of 5 million casualties inflicted on American people every year by the medical profession. Not a single person has been killed or wounded by a vitamin or mineral in America. Maybe a couple of kids who are 2 years old eat a whole bottle of vitamin A, they're going to get some liver problems, they can flush them out and things, and they'll be okay. But as far as even taking 5 times the RDA, nothing bad's going to happen to you. And it's doctors who usually tell people, you got to watch it, don't take vitamins and minerals because you could overdose. And they kill and poison, right, left, and center. So you don't have to worry about it in general. Specifically, if you say, can you kill somebody with a vitamin? I suppose if you froze it and hit them in the head with it, you might. Yes, sir. Varicose veins, copper deficiency. Back when I started doing this kind of stuff many, many years ago, we'd get people on the colloidal products and Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula. People would be taking the pig arthritis formula for arthritis, and they say, Doc, this is wondrous stuff. My varicose veins got better. And so I started learning, and I looked it up, of why. It was because of the copper, colloidal copper that's in the pig arthritis formula. Kombucha tea, sure. It's not actually a mushroom. I usually call it a kombucha mushroom. It's a yeast or bacterial colony that's grown in sugar water. And of course, you can't depend on it for minerals because yeast cannot generate minerals. It's kind of a fun food. It generates maybe some enzymes and things, but that's about it. It's a great fun tea. It's a good herbal tea, but it doesn't have any real nutrition in it from the standpoint of minerals.
Blood pressure.
Yeah.
Why do doctors give you calcium?
Channel blockers. Do you know that calcium channel blockers increase your risk of death by 60%? It was in the newspaper. I don't know if your doctor got you off it. Any doctor that leaves a patient on a calcium channel blocker is malignant, dumb, and borders on malpractice. Increases your risk of a heart attack by 60%. Okay, Crohn's disease, irritable bowel syndrome, or ulcerative colitis is actually due to a sensitivity to wheat gluten. And so if you want to deal with Crohn's disease, irritable bowel syndrome, or ulcerative colitis, you have to give up wheat gluten. There's actually gluten-free flours and breads, or you just have to give up wheat. 90% of the people on earth don't eat wheat, so it's not a big crime. You can eat wheat or rice and oats and other things, corn. But also you want to take Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula and make sure you get all 90 nutrients and repair yourself. Glaucoma. In my experience, glaucoma is caused by muscular dystrophy of the eye muscles, one muscle being stronger than the other, and it kind of torques the eye and twists it so that it can't drain properly from the fluid that's constantly produced on the inside, and you build up pressure. And the only way to deal with this, other than, obviously you need to put drops in the eyes to keep the pressure down, and you don't want a cold turkey. You don't want to even stop those things until the doctor tells you your pressure is normal, because you can go blind very quickly. But what you want to do is give up all things that are going to contribute to that muscular dystrophy of the eye muscles. Things like vegetable oils, cooking oils, salad dressings, things like margarines. And then you want to be sure to take all 90 nutrients, including the selenium, methionine, the amino acid, and vitamin E. Okay, in the red. Impotency? Well, you don't have to worry about that, do you? No. You're on the other end, yeah. Okay, now, usually this is due to a guy who's on some kind of medication for high blood pressure or something like that. What you want to do is get him on Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula, fix the high blood pressure with calcium so he can get off the medication, then he'll stand right back up. Okay. Well, it certainly can't hurt her, okay? Can't hurt her. It has gallium in it and things like that. But if you're really looking for some alternative things to do for brain cancer, I'd consider one of these dozens of alternative clinics in Mexico, because you need some help here. You need to do something real drastic. You need to do something really drastic if you're going to fix brain cancer with anything. I mean, it's tough, okay? And so you're going to have to jump in very quickly and make a decision. And I can help you, I guess, give us your name and phone number, and we'll give you some addresses and phone numbers. Lymphedema? Was there any surgery like mammectomy or anything like that? Mastectomy? No? Okay. You have edema of the legs or ankles? Legs? Okay. Have you been on any medication for that? Not really? Okay, one other question. At the time you got this, were you taking any vitamins and minerals? No. Okay. On one leg. Okay, well, that's kind of interesting. Left leg or right leg? Huh? Left leg. Okay. What it could be is, especially if you're constipated or have hemorrhoids or something like that, you can interfere with the blood return and the lymph return from that leg because the colon and everything kind of sits on that side. And so if you're constipated and have yourself full of bricks in there, it plugs the return. If not, you may just have something structural, or the ring that vein comes through might be. If it's just one leg, then it's a different problem. It's a mechanical problem. If you can't take orange juice, put it in water, but then you got to take some extra calcium to make up the difference. Rectal bleeding? Oh, retinal in the eye, bleeding. Okay, you get okay, you get an attachment of the retina and you get bleeding behind it, whatnot. Again, you're missing something, okay, because normally the retinas stay plastered where they're supposed to be. When you start getting a breakdown here, it can be anything. From a copper deficiency. If I could look in your eyes, I could almost tell you, because when you have a copper deficiency, the arteries of your eyes, instead of being straight, they get all wiggly like an old river because the elastic fibers are breaking down, just like on the waistband of your underwear when they drop down around your knees. So you're missing something. I can tell from here you have lovely gray hair, right? Yeah? This is due to a copper deficiency. That's probably it, in the purple. Multiple sclerosis, also Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, Parkinson's disease, are all kind of related, just different parts of the brain are affected. One of the prevailing theories now is it's due to a mercury poisoning from fillings. And one of the things you have to do is get all the fillings out of your mouth, which is the constant source of mercury poisoning to the brain. Also, you have to take in relatively large doses of cholesterol, because what's the part of the brain that goes away when you have MS? The myelin, right? The insulating sheath. That's 75% by weight pure cholesterol, and so you need cholesterol. You don't need to be on a cholesterol-free diet if you have MS, because you're going to be in trouble. You can't repair something if you're not giving it the raw materials. Then you want to take 90 nutrients, Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula. Yes, ma'am. Sure. Spasmodic torticollis is where you get a cramping of the neck muscles. It's a calcium deficiency. And if you have osteoporosis to go along with that, you might get permanent curvature of the cervical vertebrae. You can go to a chiropractor and he'll kind of straighten you back up. But unless you take all 90 essential nutrients, you won't get a permanent cure with chiropractic, because it kind of straightens you up. You get a calcium deficiency again, you get it right back. And so you need to give your body the raw materials to repair the muscles and the bones. Yes? Interstitial cystitis. This is scar tissue forming in the bladder wall. And DMSO is a very common medical treatment for that. But usually that's not enough, because what happens is you don't have enough raw materials to repair that, and it's the lack of raw materials that caused it in the first place. When you have a change of cells from one type to another, it's usually from a vitamin A or a zinc deficiency. And even if you've been supplementing with these things, you may not have been absorbing it in the pill form. And so you want to try Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula and give up all sugar, natural and processed. And for sure, you want to give up fried foods and vegetable oils, salad dressings, and those kind of things. Way in the back. Tourette syndrome. This is where kids or adults kind of shout sometimes or have a tic maybe. And I've seen it in little kids. I've seen it in people of all ages. And the first experience I had was a little kid up in Denver. And his mother said, well, do you think this will help my 6-year-old with Tourette's? And I said, I have no idea. So we gave him just a teaspoon for 20 pounds of body weight. And in a couple of months, she calls me and she said, you know, his Tourette's went away. He doesn't have this nervousness and all this tic and screaming and everything. It just went away. And so she belonged to a support group. And sure enough, she told other people in there, and many of these kids up into the teenagers, they got better. Some of them got completely better. Some of them got partially better. And so all I can tell you is, if as an adult, if you have Tourette syndrome, regardless of the degree you have it, because it comes in various severity, you give it a try, but you have to do one other thing. Give Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis a try, but you have to give up all sugar, natural and processed. No apple juice, no grape juice, no Pepsis, no Coca-Cola, no donuts, no pastries, no white sugar in your coffee, no sugar frosted flakes, etc., etc. Oh, torn rotor cuff. Okay. If it's torn to the point where it's totally separated, you're going to need some surgery to get the two ends together. If it's just kind of frayed, okay, and stretched, by taking the raw materials, the 90 essential nutrients, including the 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 essential amino acids, and 3 essential fatty acids. Those muscle fibers will repair and get tighter. But again, if they're totally severed and torn, then you need to surgically put them back together. Okay, uric acid kidney stones are different from the calcium kidney stones. What you have to do is get your liver being happy, burning up and churning up the uric acid. You need to go on a gout diet, one that's low in beans and seafood and things like that. Beer and wine, you want to give up all those things which produce a lot of uric acid. You want to give your liver all 90 nutrients so that it will actually deactivate the uric acid and get it out in your urine instead of having it collect as a kidney stone. You have to give all 90 nutrients to your liver. One more thing here, and this of course include this story about my father-in-law. He's 82 years old. But I have to tell you my own story first, I guess. 5 years ago, I was bald from my ears forward. And I see a lot of guys in this room with my hairline. This guy in the pink shirt right here, my hairline looked like him right there, right? And I started on these minerals. My wife is 6 foot tall. And we always sit on the couch, and watch TV, or we'll go someplace, walk together. And she's always rubbing my head, kind of like a pet. And she rubs my head, and she says, you got some stubble coming up in there. I don't know what. And so I knew it was the minerals after about a year of doing the minerals, and so I doubled it. That's when I went from 1 time a day to 2 times a day, and the hair just shot out. And so everything that I have from my ears forward has grown in since I've been taking these minerals twice a day. Now, my 82-year-old father-in-law is very interesting. He visited us from China for 4 months. Couldn't speak English, so I couldn't hypnotize him. And he had one of these walkers because he had terrible arthritis and osteoporosis. And he was bent over in pain. He's a terrible sight to behold because he's 6 foot tall, weighed over 200 pounds. And he would just groan with pain every time he'd move. And I wanted to give him Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula twice a day. And my wife, being a surgeon, literally jumped in front of him and said, no, you'll overdose him. He's 82 years old. You can't give it to him twice a day. So we had a family conference, and she reluctantly agreed to let me give it to him once a day at breakfast. After about 10 days, it was Sunday, I was getting ready to go to church. We came running down the stairs, and I see his walker laying over on his side in the kitchen. I said, uh-oh, this old guy's fallen over. He's broken his hip or his back. He's died. He's crawled behind a couch and croaked. And she's going to blame me and the minerals, right? And she's 6 foot tall and knows all this karate stuff. So I was nervous. I look under the beds and behind the couches and in the closets, and I couldn't find him. So I'm sitting down drinking some herbal tea, and I look out in the garden, and here he is. He's out there doing these Tai Chi exercises. So I go run upstairs and get my wife. And I say, honey, look at your dad. And he hadn't done that in 15 years. 30 days later, he was able to even throw away his cane, and he's walking around the block with me, playing with the little kids and patting the dogs on the heads and really enjoying himself. 30 days before this, the guy was miserable and debilitated. Then in 2.5 months, my wife says, honey, and she gives me that little musical voice when she wants something. Honey, can I borrow your blood pressure cuff? And I said, well, sure, what's the matter with yours? And she says, well, it's not working. 5 minutes later, she says, yours isn't working either. That's because her father's blood pressure came down into the normal range because of the colloidal calcium, and he didn't need his blood pressure medication anymore. At 3.5 months, his blood sugar came down into the normal range, and he didn't need insulin. He'd been on insulin for 20 years. Now, when he went back to China after 4 months of visiting us, he'd let his hair grow long because on Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula, his hair was really growing. And before he could get 1 haircut a year, he had all this wispy hair. And now his hair was really growing out. And he got a haircut. In the crown of his head, 40% of his skull or his scalp surface, the hair had grown back in jet black, typical Chinese hair color. And we've been shipping that stuff to him every 2 months. We ship him about 4 cases. And his hair has grown back in totally jet black all over his head. He looks like he's 52 instead of 82. And all his buddies say, I don't know what they do in America, but you went there 4 months, you come back, you're half the age you were when you went. And so it's really an amazing thing. It doesn't matter if you're 82. In fact, how many of you saw, what's that TV talk show with Jay Leno, Tonight Show? How many of you saw the Tonight Show the other night? Okay, did you see that? Did anybody? Okay, well, they had a 97-year-old lady on there who is a handwriting expert. She's one of the people who used the Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula. I met her 4 years ago when she was 93. And she came in, she was kind of like a wilted rag. Her daughters brought her in kind of under the armpits, and they kind of just put her in a chair, and she immediately fell asleep. Put her on Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula. 3 months later, I went back there and gave a lecture, and she walked up the steps holding onto the rail in tennis shoes, and she sat down. 10 minutes later, she was asleep. I went back there 6 months later, and she's running up the steps in her tennis shoes, and she has all her girlfriends with her, and they're chattering and giggling. And now she was on the Tonight Show the other night. because she'd just written a book. She'd been wanting to do it for 40 years and she never had the energy until she was on Dr. Wallach's Pig Arthritis Formula. I want to thank you all very much. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless America.
Thank you for viewing this presentation, and remember to contact the person that sent this to you. For more presentations and books that go into greater detail, go to docwallachmedia.com. And be well. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The opinions expressed in this informational program are the express opinions of Joel D. Wallach, B.S., DVM, ND, are not a replacement for proper medical advice and treatment. In all cases, we recommend you contact your physician directly regarding any medical conditions.